Season planning is a foundation of every successful program. It is the moment when coaching stops being reactive and becomes intentional. Before any drill is chosen, before any schedule is built, a coach must define a direction. Planning is not about organizing practices. It is about designing a path of development. It answers three essential questions. What kind of athlete do we want to build? What must be developed first? And what can wait? How will today's work connect to where we want to be? A season without a plan is driven by urgency. A season with a plan is driven by purpose. This module is about learning how to think beyond the next practice and begin shaping growth over time. Because great training does not happen by accident. It is built. Before we talk about drills, systems, or schedules, we need to clarify one thing. Season planning is not about filling a calendar or organizing practices week by week. It is about guiding athlete development over time. Every decision a coach makes, what to train, when to train, how often to repeat, and how much to progress, directly impacts learning, performance, and long-term development. This course is designed to help coaches think beyond isolated sessions and start connecting daily training decisions to a clear seasonal vision. That is what effective planning really means. Coaching Development Pathway. Level 1, Learn the Game. This stage is about building correct foundations. Coaches learn the basic rules, core skills, and structure of volleyball. The goal is clarity, understanding what the game is and how it works. Level 2, Coach the Game. Here, knowledge becomes action. Coaches begin leading drills, managing players, and introducing tactical thinking. The focus shifts from knowing to applying. Level 3, Master the Game. At this level, coaches think long-term. They plan with purpose, connect training to game demands, and make informed decisions that shape player development over time. Coach development is a progressive process, just like athlete development. At the beginning, coaches need structure and clear foundations. As they grow, they learn how to apply knowledge in practice. At higher levels, they are expected to see the season as a whole, not as isolated sessions. The objective of this course is not to tell coaches which drill to use. It is to help them understand why, when, and how to use each drill effectively. That is what transforms sessions into systems and activity into development. When you understand concepts better, you can explain and teach better. Feynman, a process is not random. It is a structured sequence of steps designed to reach a goal. In coaching, the process defines how athletes are guided across the season through planning, communication, and consistent work. Season planning is one of the most strategic responsibilities of a coach. It is not just about organizing practices. It is about building a long-term development structure that balances technical growth, tactical understanding, physical preparation, mental development. Without a clear yearly plan, training becomes reactive, inconsistent, and driven by short-term results. A yearly plan gives direction. It transforms intention into structure. A well-designed yearly plan allows a coach to break the season into clear phases: preparation, competition, recovery. Connect general preparation to specific game demands, progress skills in a logical sequence. Manage training load, volume, and intensity. Make better daily decisions, not only better long-term plans. Each phase has a purpose. Each period has priorities. Each training block serves a developmental goal. Planning is not about doing more. It is about doing the right things at the right time for the right reasons. That is how development stops being accidental and becomes intentional. Periodization, practical deep dive. The yearly plan becomes practical when we break into cycles. Periodization is applied through 3 levels of planning. The macrocycle is a full season, your roadmap from start to finish. The mesocycle divides this plan into 4 to 6 week blocks, each with a specific focus, such as building strength, refining tactics, or preparing for competition. The microcycle is a week-to-week structure where daily practices are scheduled to balance intensity, recovery, and match play. This layered system ensures that long-term goals are always aligned with short-term actions. Every training session now has a purpose. Every week serves a direction. Every decision fits inside a larger plan. That is how a vision becomes executable. When we have the goals, we start working on the plans. Before building a yearly training plan, we must first define the goals with clarity. What do we want to achieve, and for whom are we planning? Each team is different. Athletes, families, and coaches bring unique expectations and motivations. Recognizing these differences is essential to organize a season that is coherent, realistic, and meaningful. Athletes join for many reasons. Some aim for college opportunities. Others want to improve their volleyball skills. Some seek health, fun, or friendships. As coaches, we must ask, how do these goals vary across age groups and competitive levels? The answer will guide how we design, prioritize, and adapt our plans. From the club's perspective, development must go beyond skills. Our model is built on 5 pillars: technical/tactical/physical/social/mental. Each pillar contributes to growth, not only as athletes, but as people. The ultimate goal is to develop well-rounded individuals with strong values, resilience, and life skills that extend far beyond the court. Every coach carries personal motivations. For some, it is extra income. For others, it is love for sport, recognition, mentoring young athletes, or supporting their own child's team. Some seek knowledge, competitive success, or a way to give back to the club. No reason is more valid than another. What matters is clarity. Your why shapes how you teach, communicate, and make decisions. That is why coaches' goals must be part of the planning process. Throughout the season, create moments for reflection and dialogue. Encourage your staff to identify their motivations, ambitions, and the impact they want to create. When each coach understands why they lead, the entire program gains consistency, alignment, and direction. Structuring the season with intention. When planning a macro cycle, coaches must consider not only general principles, but also contextual factors that directly influence team development. A successful season is built on technical, structural, and strategic preparation. Step 1. Build a seasonal timeline. Include key months, competition dates, and milestones. Classify competitions by importance low, medium, high, and schedule additional events such as open gyms, recruiting meetings, guest sessions, or camps, all of which impact preparation and exposure. Step 2. Divide the macro cycle into phases. General preparation. Develop the physical base, refine basic skills, and introduce tactical fundamentals. Specific preparation. Focus training on the team's particular needs. sharpening strategies and technical precision. Competition, peak for performance, simulate game conditions, and emphasize decision-making under pressure. Managing load growth and athlete well-being. Step 3. Set physical preparation priorities. Training loads must match the demand of each phase, balancing intensity, volume, and recovery. Every block should serve a clear developmental purpose. Final reminder: any form of physical consequence, e.g., punishment, must align with training goals and athlete readiness. Coaches should always ask, are we building our athletes up or breaking them down? Planning is not only about organizing time. It is about protecting development, guiding progress, and shaping people. When planning a new season, your team cannot be viewed in isolation. It exists within a larger club structure with history, standards, and expectations. Start by reflecting on last year. What was the team's final ranking? How does that result shape expectations for this season? How many new athletes joined? Did players move up or down between teams? Leadership matters as well. Who is the coach? What style, values, and habits do they bring? These elements define the team's culture, identity, and ambition. Understanding this context prevents unrealistic plans and creates alignment between the club, the staff, and the athletes. From context to structure. Next, look ahead to the competitive calendar. Which tournaments are scheduled? Are AAUs, nationals, or major qualifiers included? For 16s and 17s, how do recruiting timelines affect priorities? Then define how training will function. Pods? Positional work? Full team sessions? Scrimmage-based practices? Each format develops athletes differently and shapes team cohesion. Finally, clarify the competitive division your team will play in. These decisions determine the depth, pace, and direction of every training phase. A coherent plan aligns club goals, athlete expectations, from planning to development. The 3 stages of growth. When structuring a macrocycle, every phase must serve a clear developmental purpose. All training can be organized around 3 essential stages. 1. Acquisition. Introduction of new technical and tactical elements. Focus on learning. Form, positioning, and understanding builds a foundation for future performance. 2. Stabilization. Emphasis on precision and consistency. Skills are refined under controlled conditions. Actions become reliable and automatic in training. 3. Integration. Skills and tactics are combined in game-like situations. Decision-making under pressure. Performance in real rhythm and competitive context. These stages ensure that learning progresses from knowing, executing, performing under pressure. Using benchmarks to guide the season. To organize the season effectively, coaches must rely on benchmarks as reference points. The key questions are simple yet powerful. What technical and tactical capacities should athletes reach by the end of the cycle? What priority goals are most appropriate for this age group? Benchmarks define when a skill should be learned, stabilized, and applied in competition. Take, for example, the development of attack systems. Suppose the team is learning to run a first tempo attack with the middle hitter. The coach must ask, when should this skill be mastered and consistently applied in matches? How does that timeline align with the competition calendar? These are not minor details. They are the backbone of meaningful planning. Clear objectives prevent confusion. Vague expectations create frustration. Tangible goals give direction, focus, and purpose to every training block. From objectives to long-term development, physical preparation must align with these objectives. When working with a trainer or external specialist, every program must respect the athlete's developmental readiness and the priorities defined by the coaching staff. The central question is not only how hard athletes are training, but whether the process is enhancing their capacity to perform and remain healthy over time. Planning should never stop at the present season. Every objective must connect to the future pathway. What is the progression from 11s to 12S? How do we evolve from simplified formats to full gameplay? When do we move from 4 to 2 systems to complete offensive structures? Every decision must anticipate the next step. Continuity is what transforms isolated seasons into a true development program. Assessing the athlete. Where do we start? Before starting the planning process, coaches must carefully assess the global developmental profile of their athletes. This evaluation provides a clear starting point and guides decisions throughout the season, regardless of age or competitive level. It is essential to cover 4 main areas. 1. Technical skill level. Coaches must evaluate how athletes execute fundamental volleyball techniques, such as passing, serving, setting, attacking, blocking, and digging. This goes beyond simply performing the skill. It involves execution quality, consistency under pressure, and adaptability in game-like situations. 2. Tactical understanding. This area assesses how well players understand rules, positions, and rotations, as well as their responsibilities in side-out transition and free ball phases. The goal is to evaluate both individual decision-making and the ability to function within collective strategies. Assessing the athlete, completing the picture. 3. Physical and motor development. Comparative physical tests can measure speed, strength, agility, and power. For younger athletes, special attention should be given to coordination, balance, rhythm, spatial awareness, reaction time, and overall body control. These foundations are critical for future performance. 4. Mental and psychological readiness. Coaches should observe emotional regulation, motivation, teamwork, and stress management. The ability to stay focused, respond constructively to feedback, and remain resilient under pressure strongly influences both learning and performance. When combined, these 4 dimensions create a full spectrum assessment. This ensures the training plan matches the team's real needs, maximizes growth, prevents overload, and promotes sustainable, long-term development. Single cycle model. Structuring the season. In volleyball, there are different ways to structure training cycles. One of the most common approaches is the single cycle model, especially in clubs with shorter seasons of about 6 months. This method allows for more targeted planning, leading to consistent and measurable results. To apply this model effectively, coaches must first define the athlete's age group, for example, ages 13 to 14, and clarify the main emphasis of the cycle. Will it focus on early stimulation, content introduction, or technical refinement? Once this decision is made, development priorities can be established. These may include specific skills such as serve, receive, setting, or attacking. The workload assigned to each skill determines how often it will be trained and which instructional method will be used. analytical, synthetic, or global. From structure to purposeful training. The structure should always reflect the club's development philosophy, organizing the season into months and dividing progress into three main stages: acquisition, stabilization, and integration. Within each mesocycle, coaches must define clear objectives, such as introducing a new technical skill or tactical concept. They also need to determine training volume, measured by repetitions, drill duration, or performance targets, and carefully regulate intensity, adjusting effort levels to avoid overload and reduce fatigue. Finally, the types of activities and drills must align with the cycle's goals, whether through simple exercises or more complex, combined drills. When planned in this way, a mesocycle becomes more than a block of training. It becomes a purposeful framework that connects daily practice with long-term development. Mesocycle structure, progressive blocks. The mesocycle can be divided into three main blocks, each typically lasting about 2 months. This block structure supports progressive development of technical, tactical, and systemic components throughout the season. The first block focuses on general skill development, ensuring that all fundamental volleyball skills, passing, setting, serving, spiking, blocking, and digging, are practiced regardless of the player's position to make training more organized and purposeful. These skills are grouped into complexes. Training through complexes. Complex brings together reception, setting, and attacking, practiced either in isolation or in sequence. Complex 2 includes serving, blocking, and digging, also trained separately or combined. Complex 3 emphasizes transitions between Complex I and Complex 2, preparing athletes to connect skills smoothly during play. Coaches are encouraged to alternate between complexes during each session. This approach strengthens technical execution, prevents monotony, and keeps players engaged and mentally challenged. In this stage, analytical and synthetic drills are applied more frequently to reinforce individual skill acquisition, while gradually linking the tactical understanding. In the second block, training evolves from general skill development toward position-specific roles: setter, libero, opposite, middle blocker, outside hitter. This marks the beginning of specialization, while still reinforcing the fundamentals built in block. One key shifts in this stage: greater integration of skills, applying the complex model with more game-like connections. Synthetic and global drills become more frequent, simulating real game pressure and decision-making. Increased emphasis on repetition under stress, preparing athletes to execute consistently in competitive situations. Development priorities adapt to age and level, ensuring specialization occurs progressively and without early overload. This block bridges a gap between technical mastery and tactical application, setting the stage for advanced integration in the next phase. Integration into team systems. In the final block, all previously acquired skills and complexes are brought together and applied within the team's tactical systems. Training now shifts from isolated execution to full game scenarios, where every action must connect to strategy. At this stage, coaches emphasize complete game structures such as side-out play from reception to attack, defensive organization, serve, block, defend, transition, coverage and counterattack transitions. Global drills now dominate the training process, simulating real match conditions with complete player roles. Skills are no longer trained in isolation, but are constantly linked to tactical demands and the team's game model. Transitions between phases of play become smoother, faster, and more automatic. Match preparation takes priority. Training sessions before tournaments focus on strategy, cohesion, and correcting weaknesses, guided by both statistical analysis and qualitative observation. Adaptability of the model. Although the three-block framework provides a solid structure, it must remain flexible. Adjustments depend on factors such as the length of the preparation period, the number and importance of competitions, the age group and readiness of the athletes. Ultimately, the coach's role is to adapt progression to the team's real needs and goals, ensuring that technical and tactical growth translates into competitive performance. The microcycle is a foundation of weekly training. It defines how practices are distributed and ensures that every session aligns with the broader goals of the mesocycle and macrocycle. When planning a week, the coach must decide how many practices will take place, how many sessions will be held each day, what the specific objective of each session will be. These decisions must always reflect the current phase of development, whether the focus is general preparation, specialization, or full integration into game systems. Weekly planning must also respect the reality of the team. Tournament schedules, match load, and athlete availability shape what is possible. Injuries, physical fatigue, and emotional stress influence how much intensity and volume can be sustained without compromising development. Above all, consistency is a guiding principle. A microcycle is not an isolated unit. It is part of a continuous sequence. Each week must build deliberately on the previous one, reinforcing learning, stabilizing performance, and advancing the long-term plan. This is where planning becomes tangible. The microcycle is where vision turns into action, and where daily choices determine the quality of the season. Each microcycle must have a clear short-term objective that directly supports the goals of the mesocycle. Without this level of organization, seasonal objectives become difficult to achieve, one of the main reasons many teams fail to sustain performance throughout the year. An effective microcycle integrates technical and tactical training with physical preparation, ensuring that skill development and conditioning progress in harmony. Sessions may take different forms: pods, full team practices, positional training, or scrimmages, but every format must serve the same long-term plan. Weekly structure should always reflect the athlete's age, experience, and competitive phase. Training progresses from isolated skills toward offensive and defensive complexes, and then into full system execution. For younger teams, microcycles emphasize repetition and simplified objectives, building strong technical foundations. For more advanced teams, the focus shifts sooner toward tactical integration and match preparation with skills applied under pressure. In all cases, the microcycle is a bridge between daily practice and long-term development. General preparation is a foundation of the training year, where volume and tempo are carefully controlled to adjust difficulty and intensity in a progressive way. Drills begin simple, focusing on isolated skills, and gradually evolve into more complex tasks that reflect game sequences. In this phase, analytical drills are essential. They allow coaches to isolate key movement patterns, correct execution errors early, and build precise motor foundations before athletes are exposed to complex, game-like demands. During this phase, athletes are encouraged to explore the full court space and develop body awareness, avoiding excessive reliance on equipment. Incomplete action cycles are introduced first, such as working one skill at a time, before combining them into integrated movements. Training sessions, whether pod-based or team-oriented, must always align with the overall philosophy of the program. Coaches should also promote multi-position training, allowing athletes to experience different roles across the court, from back row to front row, left side to right side. This is particularly important in younger age groups, such as 11s and 12s, where avoiding early specialization helps build versatile, well-rounded players prepared for long-term development. The specific preparation phase shifts the focus from general skills to position-specific development. Athletes begin refining specialized techniques, such as a liberal learning overhead defense or run-throughs, while drills increase variability by introducing balls from different angles and speeds. Training often starts from defensive-based positions, such as pinch, spread, or standard alignments, and progresses into 2 or 3 skill cycles that integrate reception, setting, attacking, or defensive transitions. In this phase, synthetic drills become essential. They bridge isolated technique in real play by combining 2 or more skills in purposeful sequences. Synthetic exercises allow athletes to practice execution within context, reinforcing timing, spatial awareness, and decision-making without losing technical precision. For players under 15, it is recommended to assign more than one role per athlete. For example, setter and right side, or libero and outside hitter. This approach broadens tactical understanding and prevents early specialization. As training intensity rises, drills should increasingly simulate system-based play, progressing from free balls to down balls, and from defensive recovery to offensive execution. Coaches are encouraged to include variations such as in-system versus out-of-system plays, straight or angled approaches, and transition systems. Throughout this phase, technical progress must be closely monitored to ensure athletes are not only mastering skills, but also adapting them to dynamic, game-like conditions. The pre-competitive phase marks the transition from preparation to performance. At this stage, coaches define positions, rotations, and tactical plans, avoiding frequent changes in order to build stability and identity. Training sessions increasingly mirror real game situations, with small tactical adjustments introduced as needed. Psychological preparation becomes central, as athletes must learn to perform under pressure. Coaches may emphasize 1 or 2 key skills each week, often serve-receive, to ensure precision and confidence in critical areas of the game. This phase refines strengths, addresses weaknesses, and aligns the team's play with competitive demands. The competitive phase is where preparation becomes execution. Training now fully reflects match conditions, with scoring systems, rotations, time constraints, and pressure replicated in every session. Global drills become predominant, placing athletes in full game contexts where technical, tactical, and emotional demands coexist. Coaches emphasize efficiency, decision-making, and tactical consistency, while preparing players to handle the psychological stress of competition. Practices challenge athletes under pressure, reinforcing skills in real-game scenarios. Video analysis and in-game statistics become essential tools for feedback and rapid adjustment. While balancing playing time remains important, competitive outcomes take priority. The objective is to build a cohesive team capable of executing in critical moments, especially in decisive points, such as 23-24. In this phase, teams must enter competition prepared, adaptable, and fully aligned with their identity. Each phase of the session serves a distinct pedagogical purpose. Acquisition focuses on introducing or correcting a skill. Drills are simple, controlled, and analytical, allowing athletes to understand movement patterns, positioning, and intent. Feedback is frequent and precise. The goal is clarity, not speed. Stabilization reinforces a skill through repetition in structured sequences. Exercises become more dynamic, often organized in small complexes that connect 2 or 3 actions, such as pass, set or dig, set, attack. Variability increases, but success remains attainable. Consistency is built here. Integration places a skill into game context. Global drills dominate, incorporating reading, decision-making, and emotional pressure. Athletes must execute within systems, under time constraints, and against opposition. The focus shifts from how to when and why. By respecting this internal progression, each practice mirrors the learning process itself. Understand, repeat, apply. This structure transforms sessions from isolated activities into purposeful steps within a long-term development pathway. Once the session model is clear, coaches can translate it into time and emphasis for each phase of the year. In general preparation GP, training starts with most of the session in acquisition, up to 70%, then gradually shifts to more stabilization and integration as weeks progress. Emphasis is mainly technical, 50%, with tactical 25%, physical 20%, and mental 5% elements supporting development. In specific preparation, SP, acquisition drops to around 20%, stabilization grows to 50%, and integration rises to 30%. Tactical work now leads with 40%, while technical, physical, and mental training balance the remaining time. This distribution ensures that early training builds clarity, precision, and volume, while later sessions progressively reproduce competitive demands with greater tactical complexity, speed, and decision pressure. As the team enters the competition preparation phase, CP, training becomes tightly aligned with the tactical and physical demands of upcoming matches. Time dedicated to Part 1. Acquire may drop to 0, while Part 2, stabilize typically represents about 30% of the session, and Part 3, integrate dominates with up to 70%. The emphasis shifts decisively toward the tactical domain, 55%, while technical and physical components are each maintained at 15%, and mental preparation also reaches 15%, ensuring athletes are ready to perform under pressure. In the model competition microcycle, the training environment fully mirrors a competitive context. Sessions consistently reproduce match conditions, and progression moves decisively toward complete integration of skills. Part 1. Acquire remains minimal, around 15%. Part 2. Stabilize rises to approximately 35%, and Part 3. Integrate reaches its peak at 50%. The primary emphasis continues to be tactical execution, 55%, while technical, physical, and mental components are preserved at 15% each. This balance ensures that every dimension of performance is sharpened, allowing athletes to compete with precision, adaptability, and confidence. This phased approach ensures that athletes are not only developing skills, but also learning how to apply them effectively in real game situations. Planning is not static. Coaches must continuously adjust training based on key variables, such as the age group of the athletes, the overall maturity and experience of the team, the demands imposed by the competitive calendar. These factors determine how fast a group can progress, how much complexity can be introduced, and how intensity should be managed throughout the season. When greater precision is required, more detailed training sequences can be built from a structured model I have developed. This framework provides clear guidelines by age and developmental stage, allowing coaches to organize progression with purpose while preserving flexibility. The result is a system that is both consistent and adaptable, capable of guiding long-term development without losing sight of the realities of each team. Congratulations! You have just completed another key topic in our coaching program and are now ready to move forward to the next module. Throughout this module, we explore the foundations of seasonal planning in volleyball. We examine the macro, meso, and microcycle structures, clarify how long-term vision connects with short-term execution. We discuss how to organize training phases, general, specific, and competitive, and how emphasis shifts over time from acquiring to stabilizing and finally integrating skills. We emphasize the importance of aligning technical, tactical, physical, and mental components in a logical and progressive way. From load management to the use of integrated drills, from early season fundamentals to high-intensity competition preparation, every detail in planning matters. Ultimately, planning is not just theory. It is a roadmap that allows coaches to build high-performing teams. Understanding and applying these principles ensures that training leads to measurable progress, not just participation. A well-planned season maximizes development, minimizes burnout, and prepares athletes to compete at their highest level.